Greetings, fellow Americans. Welcome to Fireside Chat, State of Our Nation. I am your host, Susanna Tanner, candidate for Congress 2026 and President 2028. Let's start off with vaccines. Many of you don't know who this is. He has remained largely unknown to the general population. Dr. Maurice Hilleman is considered by many to be the father of modern vaccines. He developed many of the vaccines that are routinely recommended for children today. He developed and combined the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. The first vaccine he developed was for the Japanese encephalitis virus. This vaccine was used to protect our troops during World War II. In 1957, Dr. Hilleman realized that an influenza pandemic had started in Hong Kong, but he was the first person in history to actually predict a pandemic. He created a vaccine before it arrived in the US, and because of the vaccine, only between 70,000 and 116,000 people died. And doctors said that those numbers could have been a lot higher. They estimated that if it wasn't for the vaccine, the amount of lives lost from that pandemic may have been in the millions. He also created the hepatitis B vaccine. Hepatitis B can cause cancer in the liver. So he developed a vaccine that prevents cancer. Even after his retirement, he continued to contribute as a consultant and a mentor, and even served as advisor to the World Health Organization. And in 1988, President Ronald Reagan awarded him the National Medal of Science. The reason we're talking about this today is because Donald Trump has issued Executive Order 14420 regarding vaccines. He recommends that the MMR vaccine be completely separate shots. This will increase the likelihood of needle trauma in children. It also increases the likelihood that those vaccines will not be completed. It increases the window of opportunity for children to get sick. Any vaccine must undergo extensive safety in testing to prove that they work, and combination vaccines have been proven that the antigens do not interfere with the body's immune response or create adverse side effects. Splitting the vaccines does not have any scientific basis for being gentler on the body. Infants and young children are exposed to millions of environmental antigens every day, simply through eating, playing, and breathing. Combination vaccine introduces a tiny fraction of the antigens that a child's immune system successfully handles daily. And the historical data shows that when vaccines require multiple separate clinical visits, completion rates drop. And these single versions of these specific vaccines are not mass produced or readily marketed for public or childhood consumption in the US. So introducing them would require a lengthy manufacturing and regulatory pipeline. This means it'll cost money. Public health modeling consistently demonstrates that policy barriers can lead to drops in herd immunity. When this happens, dangerous diseases like measles can rapidly resurface and spread, and we are already seeing a resurgence of measles because of the lack of vaccination in children. Federal policy should not be contradictory to established guidance from major medical authorities. This creates widespread confusion for parents and inadequate care for children and even the elderly. The executive order states that the U.S. recommends a certain amount of required vaccines for children and adults compared to other countries. So our nation recommends around 18 different vaccines. Some places like Denmark only recommend for 10. But this is based off of their local environments and other factors. This executive order is clearly a political attempt to control our health. So if you are thinking about listening to the White House, remember this. They are politicians, not doctors. They haven't done their research, which means they don't know squat about public health. If you have questions about vaccines or other health-related issues, don't listen to politicians. Talk to your doctor. Now, we're going to move on to Twitch. Twitch is owned by Amazon, and Twitch is now in trouble for sneaking a setting into their platform that is automatically turned on. This setting allows Amazon to use content from Twitch, from all different creators, to train their generative AI models. This setting was hidden from Twitch users initially. In fact, Twitch didn't say anything about this until they were called out by Twitch users. Their reasons for this setting being automatically turned on is that if it were an opt-in, people would not opt in. Well, of course they're not going to opt in. Most of these opt-in settings do not specify what they're training their AI models on. And we have already had enough problems with bot accounts, spamming and trolling other creators, creating false accounts, and many different examples of AI created images of those who did not authorize the use of their likeness or creations. Google is also guilty of this, but their setting allows you to opt in, although the setting is for third-party trainers. They don't say anything about using your content to train Google Gemini. Now, I do use AI, but primarily for research, maybe some image creation. I limit which AIs I use, and I do not use Amazon generative AI to the best of my knowledge. I do use Adobe, Google, and Microsoft AI, but I don't believe in stealing other people's content to train an AI model. It's just straight up theft. That being said, we need to make sure that there are strict regulations on AI model training, especially, for instance, AI training using creator content being permission-based, strictly permission-based, meaning the creator has to opt in. The creator should also be compensated by the company that's using the content and whose AI models are being trained using that content. There should be strict limitations on what AI models are trained for using that content, and that the permissions should be individualized. For instance, the creator grants permission with compensation for use of a video separate from use of the audio or use from their created images. There also needs to be clear oversight and legal consequences. For instance, companies like Amazon who steal creators' content to train their AI models should immediately be fined and their program terminated. For individuals who steal content to use to create fake accounts, images, jail time and compensation. AI can be a great tool, but there needs to be regulations and oversight to prevent theft. It wasn't tolerated when Napster was allowing people to listen to music for free. They were sued by multiple artists and eventually had to shut down. Stealing content to train AI models is no different. The only real difference is that big companies like Amazon are committing the theft. And for companies who claim that they do not sell your data, stealing content to train your AI model sure seems like the complete opposite. Let's push for some regulations and legislation on AI model training. That is all I have for today. Thank you for your time, and may our path lead to peace and prosperity.